our live feed. So excuse me one moment. Okay, it looks like we might be having a couple of technical issues with the live feed on my end. I'm not entirely sure if we are actually live, so forgive me if I'm just rambling a moment here, but I'm going to quickly check a few things and make sure we are actually coming out on the live feed at the moment. Again, apologies. If you are out there and can hear this, I'm very sorry, but we're just trying to work out, we do seem to have some issues with the stream at the moment. Please give me a moment and we'll see if we can get this resolved for you. Okay, sorry, if you can still hear us out on social channels, we are just experiencing a few technical issues at the moment. We will resolve this momentarily and we will be right back. Okay, I do apologise. We had some issues there. We do seem to be resolved now. If you are watching on YouTube or if you're watching on live.bigorangeheart.org, then just quickly refresh your browser and we should be back. If somebody could just drop that into the comments, I'd appreciate that as well. As we move forward, I'm just going to ask my co-hosts to come and join me. Diane, Leo, and Paul. So where are we? Leo,
hello.
Welcome. Diane, Paul, welcome. Sorry, I'm not sure what's going on this evening. Why we just suddenly lost our feed. But it's
I know exactly what it was.
It's those raccoons.
With their tiny hands. Nothing is safe from the raccoons.
I know exactly. I know.
Right, sorry. We seem to be filled with issues this evening. Can you all hear me okay, Leo, Diane, and Paul?
Yes, I can. Sorry,
yes.
I had about 3 things to mute.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Again, apologies if you're out there listening to this. We're normally a bit slicker than this.
I know, I know
Sure.
exactly what's caused it, Dan, and I know how to solve it in the future.
Thank you.
So we know, and that's it. We learn
We
from it.
do.
Good.
Yes. Yep. Okay. So, just going to quickly introduce myself. So, I'm Dan Maybe. I am the founder and trustee of Big Orange Heart. I'm going to be here this evening, taking you through through the evening. I'd also like to introduce you to our co-hosts, to my co-hosts. So, Diane, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Diane, and I'm a WordPress developer. I recently been working with BrightTalk, getting them Gutenberg ready. They're all Gutenberg ready now, as much as anyone is.
Excellent. Leo, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, certainly. Leo Mindell. I run a digital agency called Sotic, who helps sports clubs and governing bodies deliver online. And obviously, in the current environment, that's a bit of a different thing. But normally, we deliver very large websites using WordPress.
Thank you. And Paul.
Evening, everybody. Paul Smart. I run a small agency just outside London, Smart Digital, and also work with Big Orange Heart on the sponsorship team.
Excellent, thank you. So just quickly, I'm going to mention our sponsors. If it wasn't for our sponsors, then we simply wouldn't be able to deliver these events. So, passionate about making the web a better place, Automatic, your managed cloud hosting platform, Cloudways, a turnkey solution for product vendors, agencies, and developers, Dolly. Generate more leads for your digital agency, Funnel Packs. The WordPress multilingual plugin, Weglot. Tips, tricks, and resources for people who use WordPress, Winning WP. Your all-in-one WordPress platform, WPMU Dev, and the search engine optimization plugin for WordPress, Yoast. I just want to say a huge thank you to all of these companies. These companies all sponsor Big Orange Heart. Big Orange Heart enable us to have these events. So I would really appreciate it if we could say a thank you to these sponsors. We've added a link there on the slide, big.ht/thanks. If you drop that into your browser, it will form a nice little tweet for you, so you don't have to do too much at all, and it will send out a thanks to all of those sponsors. So I'd really appreciate it if you could pull out your phone, get on the desk, get on the open up a new tab in your browser right now and type big.ht/thanks. Also, just want to say thank you to our supporters, Blue37, Paul Smart, and Sotic for giving time. They're enabling us to deliver these events. So, on to tonight. I don't know about you, Leo, Diane, and Paul. I'm certainly looking forward to this. We've got two fantastic speakers this evening. Two very different topics as well. David is going to be talking to us about AI within WordPress, and Topher's going to be taking a technical look at big commerce.
I think these are really two, as you say, this shows the diversity that WordPress London can bring to the people watching, to speakers that are really at the top of the game and people that are actually really interesting to listen to and deliver great talks.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll have no technical problems by then.
Please don't say that.
No, we're fine. We're fine. I know exactly what it was. I know exactly what it was, and it's your fault. So I'm gonna blame you.
Was it AI? And can David help us?
It goes under that those things of when you put in a safety thing to do something, and that's causes the problem. So it's great. It's great to know. It's great to know. That's why we're not in charge of launching rockets, I guess.
Fantastic. Okay, well, moving on swiftly from rockets. This evening, here in the UK, it's been a tradition for the last 10 weeks at 8 p.m. UK time to clap for our carers. So at 8 p.m, we will be stopping the speaker, whoever happens to be on screen at that moment, for 60 seconds, and we will be respecting our clap for carers. So please don't be surprised if suddenly the feed stops for 60 seconds, but we will be back. So on to our community announcements. This is an opportunity, if you are out there, if you're on the chats right now over in live.bigorangeheart.org, or if you're out on the social channels, feel free if you to make us aware of anything that's going on that you want to share with the community. Maybe it's a free event, maybe it's something relating to WordPress, open source, anything non-commercial really. We want to make sure that we can share with the community. So we do have a few items just to quickly run through whilst we wait for any further to come from the community. Yesterday, a little birthday. Were we aware? Yes, that WordPress hit 17 years old yesterday. Matt Mullenweg wrote on his blog, this was a little snippet that I've pulled from his blog. Put on some jazz, eat some barbecue, light a candle for the contributors who have passed on. Help a friend or stranger less technical than you to build a home online. I thought that was just a beautiful little sentiment there about WordPress and the what we can do with it.
I think it puts into perspective when you say 17 years and you think what was around 17 years ago. So that's pre-iPhone. Pre everybody thinking that we needed 3D TVs, pre-Tesla and where we were with electric cars. I'm sure you can remember a few other things which it's pre, but it does put it into perspective how long and dates these things.
Do we have were any of us using it back then?
No. But no, I wasn't using it. I'm trying to think of what I was doing 17 years ago.
You were in a punk rock band somewhere, I think, Diane.
I think I was actually. Should probably gloss over that.
Yeah, that's it. Less said. Less said.
Just if you've not seen it before, a really interesting site to take a look at is actually the 93digital.co.uk. They've got a history of WordPress, and they've actually taken screenshots of both back end and front end of the site of every iteration of WordPress from version 1.0, I believe. So it's definitely worth taking a look at if you're interested in the history of WordPress and how it's evolved. It's certainly changed, hasn't it, in those 17 years?
It is.
I mean,
it is.
It's changed a lot just in the time, and that's, as I said, that's not been 17 years. But thinking back to what WordPress was like when I first started using it, it's changed a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah. There's even in just the last couple of years, it's been incredible.
I was going to say, just in the last few years, it's changed massively.
Yeah.
Oh, just in the last 18 months, it's really changed as well.
Why is that, Diane?
I don't know, but there's an event coming up probably in the community announcements that might be discussing that.
Moving on, actually, as events, there are so many. Yes, so many events going on right now. And I mean, obviously, this situation, having to move to virtual events, there is the positive in that it means that we can obviously reach far wider audiences. It's today, if you visit make.wordpress.org/community/events/online, you'll see a list of today alone 30 events, and those are 30 official events through the chapter program. So there's a lot of choice to be to pick through. So if you're here with us right now, thank you very much. Thank you for sticking through the technical issues just now. And it really is there's a lot of opportunity right now to deliver these events. So have we got anybody else launching any events at the moment in the team? Anybody else working on events at all?
I know that that High Rise and that's Keith and Mark are doing. Yes, sorry, brain stopped working there for a minute. WP Cafe, and they're going to be doing a roundtable discussion on Gutenberg. And the reason that I know that is because I'm going to be joining them, because you just can't get enough of me on your screens apparently these days. So that's one to look out for.
Excellent. Yes, I see Keith's dropped the link in. Oh, thank you, Leo. highrise.digital/cafe WP-cafe for further details on that one. And if you're in live.bigorangeheart.org, you'll see the link directly in the chat there. And feel free, if you are listening, if you're out there at the moment, feel free to drop any further announcements. If you're aware of anything else that's going on in and around the community, we'll make sure we get it shared with you all. Of course, we cannot not mention this one, WordCamp Europe. A week today, I believe, until we go into the first virtual WordCamp Europe. Have we all got our tickets?
I have my tickets. I have my tickets for the contributor day as well, which is completely sold out. It's going to be an interesting thing to see how this is delivered and how it's going to work. I'm looking forward to it. And as I was saying earlier, this is the T-shirt from last year, and that's all. That and memories is all I have, isn't it?
Yeah, and what some fantastic memories they were. And obviously, we're looking forward to the next time we can all come together and be a community in person. But I want to put out a big thank you to the team at WordCamp Europe, because I appreciate there's obviously been a huge amount of work to pivot the event from an in-person to a digital version of the event, and I appreciate they've continued the 3-day model, although obviously slightly trimmed down in that you've got the contributor day on the 4th, and then we've got 2 half days of talks on the 5th and 6th of June.
I think we should also thank Paul in particular, because all of these comments that I put up go straight across his face, and I think there's a lot out there that will be thanking us for us.
If I didn't know better, I'd say you did that deliberately.
Unfortunately, it's about not much else I could do, but it does happen. It does happen.
That's cool with me.
So that's it.
Yep. When I last looked earlier on today, I think there was a little over 1,000 tickets still available for WordCamp Europe. So be sure to grab them. They're free tickets. So it's a 3-day event for free. So it'll be good to see. It's going to be really interesting, I think, to see how the contributor day goes. I know it's going to be predominantly over the Make, Slack, and Zoom. So it'll be quite an interesting to see how it all comes together.
I think that when I spoke to a couple of the people who are working on it, they're saying that the biggest thing that they're going to have is to get people onto Slack and Zoom that aren't regular users of it, if that's the right term. And so it will be an interesting experience to onboard a lot of people into particularly Zoom. But the good news is, once they're in, hopefully they will then be able to contribute more to the community, as those are the tools the community uses.
Also, if it goes really well, it could be interesting to maybe have like regular online contributor events, because sort of I always think the contributor days are really useful, a really good way of getting people into contributing. I don't know what's wrong with me today, but it would be really, really interesting to see if it works virtually, because then obviously this is something that could be done more often.
I think there's a great opportunity here in terms of inclusiveness, isn't there, for those individuals that are unable to travel and obviously unable to. There are many reasons why people can't be at contributor days, and I think this bringing together, we contribite virtually all the time. But the idea of having a dedicated day and doing it virtually, I think, is it's an interesting idea. So it'd be really good to see how it comes off. Okay, did we have anything else coming in?
We've had a number of comments from people who are looking forward to the contributor days and looking forward to the events. They're the main things. I do also know that WordCamp, there's one in America starting this weekend, and it's gone straight on my mind where it is.
While you're thinking about that, Leo, I'll just quickly mention
remember.
Zach Gordon's JavaScript for WordPress conference. Michael, thank you for sharing that. 8th to the 10th of July. So that's JavaScript for WP.com/conference coming up.
Yep.
Has it come back to you?
I cannot remember where it is.
No, not a problem.
It's too many things to worry about and too many things to press at the buttons at the same time. So I've run out of things to do. Yeah.
No problem. Let's move on. Okay. As we've mentioned previously, WP and Up has pivoted into Big Orange Heart. Big Orange Heart is a registered charity with a mission to support and promote positive well-being and mental health within the remote working communities. We've just completed a piece of work in relation to our open transparency report. If you hit big.ht/open, you'll be able to see how we spend as a charity your donations, how we spend that money that comes in. We, through 2019, we delivered a little over 7,500 hours of free support into the community. That came at a cost to us of an average of £10,251 per month. So that comes in, we're looking at £16 an hour for us to be able to deliver wellbeing and mental health support for free to community members. So if you have an opportunity to sponsor or donate, then we'd really appreciate it because it does enable us to be able to support more people. We really do need support from the business community for us to be able to continue to do this. We're looking for 6 more sponsors to come on and join us. We really want to try and spread the financial burden of this across multiple businesses, not looking for a single business to take on that responsibility. So we really would appreciate if you have the opportunity. Maybe you're a business, maybe you want to share this with your employer. There's a lot of opportunity for us to create exposure and to work together at looking at how we can support wellbeing and mental health within your company. If you hit big.ht/sponsor, are you liking this big.ht short URL? We've got splashed everywhere.
I didn't know about it before today. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I actually bought this and donated it to the charity about a week ago, and it's a big orange heart and the big HT heart. Got a nice little short URL. Similarly, if you have the opportunity, I appreciate we're in very difficult times, and we do fully support the message of being financially responsible at this time. But if you have the ability, any form of donation would be greatly appreciated to enable us to be able to continue to deliver this free support. If you can donate £10, $10 a month, whatever you can, every single penny does make a difference. To put that into context, $10 a month, a $10 a month donation, enable us to deliver 30 free minutes of support for an individual within the community. But that's my pitch over and done with. So thank you for giving me that opportunity. Before we bring on our first fantastic speaker, do we have anything else just to wrap up on our community announcements?
No.
Yes, I should probably say I didn't say the URL for the WP Cafe. So it's highrise.digital/WP-cafe. I just remembered that I should give people the URL for that.
Excellent, thank you. And Leo, did you have one?
Nope.
Okay, excellent. Well, let's get rid of these slides and let's welcome Mr. David Lockey to the stage. David, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
We can.
Excellent. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time to come and share your talk with us this evening. Thanks for
having me, and thanks for all the great work you're doing as well. I like the short URL, Dan. I think that's perfect.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, cool. So you're going to be talking. This is a really interesting topic, AI and WordPress. I'm really personally looking forward to hearing this talk and hearing what we've got, what we're going to be. So it's 9 ways to make WordPress better with AI. Is this a kind of a passion project? Is this mind me asking where the AI is coming from at the moment?
It's just a really important thing for WordPress. I guess I love seeking out kind of the state of the art or the cutting edge, or like what's one step beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've definitely, I mean, you can't work in technology and avoid what's happening with AI. It's one of those sort of big inbound tech trends. And I just thought it was an important topic to put some time into thinking. And whenever I do that, whenever I'm kind of investing time into research and understanding, I always try and give it back to the community. Hopefully it's valuable to somebody.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Yes, I'm sure it absolutely will be. Okay, well, we're going to step off. I'm going to bring your slides up and give you the stage. If anybody does have any questions out there, please feel free. Do drop the questions in the chat, and we will have a Q&A once you've finished your talk. So, David, here are your slides. I'm going to step off, and thank you very much. Over.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks everyone for having me and for coming. This is a bit of a dry run for WordCamp Europe next week. So A, forgive the cover slide. B, please do give me brutal feedback so that I can make this as good as it can be for next week. I can cover a lot of ground in next week. So if you tell me it's a do-over, that's totally fine with me. Thanks for giving up your evening. So, hi, my name's David Lockie. I'm CEO at Pragmatic. We're a digital agency based in Brighton, and we specialize in WordPress. We work primarily with businesses that offer digital value propositions as a service. So that could be publishers, could be SaaS, could be B2B brands, anyone that's looking to build enduring relationships with their customers and stakeholders. So today is all about sharing some of the cool stuff that I've found whilst looking at what's happening with AI and some of the thinking that's evolved from that and what lies ahead for WordPress. So I guess today I'd like to help you gain a more nuanced understanding of what AI technologies are, how they can be integrated into WordPress today, and what opportunities and challenges lie ahead. So you're listening today because you care about WordPress, and you're not the only one. WordPress is absolutely huge. Huge adoption, huge number of sites, huge data, huge ecosystem, huge variability, huge economy, huge stakes. Some amazing people, organizations and businesses, agencies, freelancers, software vendors, support teams, end users, hosters, open source contributors and maintainers, charities, a whole ecosystem of incredible people around this software project. And Gutenberg really is great. It gives people a world-class page building and editing experience. Other page builders are fantastic too. Together they make WordPress an incredible tool for helping people communicate online, and there is immeasurable value in that. But the world is much bigger than just WordPress, and even a huge project backed by many, many incredible people is not free from the risk of disruption. The ways in which AI could impact WordPress are at once easy and difficult to predict. We know it's going to happen, and we can guess at what some of the specifics look like. But if I had a killer idea for exactly what AI plus WordPress looked like, I'd be pitching VCs about now. The current paradigm of the web is largely people planning, creating, publishing, and experiencing content by and for each other. But before long, we may well see that paradigm change, where machine intelligence is planning, creating, publishing, and experiencing content designed especially by and for machines as well as for people. So the very nature of the web and what a visitor means could change. Of all the trends that could disrupt WordPress over the next few years, it's become clear to me that AI is the most important. It stands to be the defining technology of our generation, creating wealth and helping people solve challenges that are inherently part of and limited by our very nature as people. I heard this quote recently and it really stuck with me. We need to make peace with ourselves, and that's never been more true and more apparent than right now in the face of a global pandemic. I believe that technology at its best helps us to be better than we can be without it. But disruption is not something that we can entirely control, and we will have all kinds of impacts. for how long will WordPress developer be a job? This is, if you haven't seen a chart like this before, it's years from 2016, so it's a little bit out of date on the left-hand side, and that blows up to kind of 0, 5, 10 years out from 2016 in the rows below. And it shows essentially like the best guess and the variance for different types of jobs being displaced. So, for example, within the next 3 or 4 years, AI should be able to assemble any Lego. Before that, they should be able to beat human players at StarCraft. They can already beat them at things like Angry Birds. But, you know, in what's that now, 8 years from now, they should be able to drive trucks better than humans and start displacing us from those jobs. And computer programmer is not immune from being on this list. So we should beware the hubris. There are plenty of competitors for WordPress out there already. We have Squarespace, Wix, Shopify, Webflow, Adobe, Sitecore, Medium, even Facebook's own stores now. There are some specifically AI-powered website services out there: HeyLayer, Bookmark.com, Zyro.com. There was one a few years ago, I remember, called The Grid. That seems to have fallen away now. People talking about it as a scam, but it was very tangible, and I'd argue not that difficult to achieve. And all those services I talked through, they're all using AI technologies today. So yes, the AI is coming. It's apparently the law that every deck about AI must include reference to the Terminator and Skynet. So this is my reference, and we can move swiftly past it. So what is AI and what can it do? Honestly, it's a pretty abused term. It's best considered as a family of technologies and trends that covers a lot of ground. We already use AI to help us almost every minute of the day, whether that's Google Search, Google Maps, Spotify's recommended playlists, or Siri. AI is already a technology that is totally familiar to us. These are 27 trends from the Future Tech Trends report of 2019 that are AI tech trends. So there is a lot in there. By and large, a good way to think about AI is to think about knowledge, how it's created, managed, and used. You don't need AI to generate or understand, to generate data or information, but you do need AI if you're going to generate knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. So I tried to put a kind of WordPress example around this. So if we start at the bottom, you might see a log that lists those terms. That's information that can be interpreted just using non-AI techniques. You can parse that Akismet's a plugin, update started is an action, and fatal error is a PHP error. Interpreting what that means needs intelligence. So we need to know, need to be able to know that an update process was started for Akismet and triggered a fatal PHP error. This is not me beating on Akismet before you think about it. Understanding that is different from knowing that. So understanding that is something that we leap to very quickly as people, and we go, well, there was a problem updating Akismet because it triggered a fatal PHP error. But actually that knowledge to understanding jump is significant for a machine. And the one that goes beyond that to wisdom is even more so. So the wisdom is to then take some action based on that. So let's revert the site back, don't update Akismet, and let the admin know that they have to look into that. So with that kind of better understanding of what AI is broadly for, these are the sorts of things that AI can generate as outcomes. So as we go right, the AI needs more learning, more training. So perceptions about what's happening now. Notification is about what do I need to know. Suggestion is what do you recommend. Automation is what should I always do. Prediction is what can I expect to happen. Prevention is what can I avoid. And situational awareness is what do I need to do right now. And so we can see that these are increasingly high level, but we can also imagine how some of these play out with WordPress. The admin page can be pretty notification heavy. We can think about some things that we do in our jobs, which we would be glad to have automated. And when we use AI services like Google Search and the kind of auto type ahead in their email clients now, the power of prediction is both super powerful and pretty uncanny. So let's look at a more specific example of a hard problem that only AI can help us solve. This is based on some numbers from a guy called Professor Hume. I think he's Professor of AI at Imperial College, is it? His company is Satalia. So this is called the traveling salesman problem. And what it is there's a salesman. He has a number of stops for the day, and he or she needs to find the most efficient way to find that day's stops. Let's say that the objective is simply to find the shortest total distance. Let's keep that easy. So 2 stops is pretty trivial. It's the kind of decision that we make by second nature when we know the area, and although there might be a bit of inefficiency, the cost of that inefficiency isn't very high. It's one journey. We can do that without thinking about it, although it does cause arguments sometimes. When we get to 10 stops, the number of possible routes between them has grown to over 3 million. Still not a huge problem to solve for the salesman, because using today's processes, just using raw calculation power, he can solve for the optimum route in a brute force way. He can just measure the distance between all those points. And if we imagine he can calculate 1 million calculations a second, that would take him 4 seconds. So that's totally fine. He can wait for his phone to do that. But as the number of stops increases, the amount of time needed increases in a non-linear way. So taking 14 stops would need a whole day using the same calculation power. And the cost of getting it wrong would really start to add up, i.e. the difference between the shortest and other routes can be really significant. Of course, not all routes are equal, and there exist algorithms which specialize in solving problems like this. For example, you could quickly rule out some routes, like going from the very left-hand dot to the very right one, or not doing the 2 dots together that are close together in sequence. But even figuring out which algorithm to use is a hard problem. By the time we're at 20 stops, it would take longer than the age of the universe to solve this problem using raw compute power alone at 1 million calculations a second. And so we need to use an algorithm. There's no other way. Machine learning is very good at solving optimization problems, like which algorithm would be best to solve this problem. For those of you who have been counting along, making sure I haven't missed a dot, I really appreciate that. So with that richer, more granular toolkit, I know it's a bit of a kind of run through quite quickly of what AI is, and that I definitely didn't intend to cover everything. Hopefully it's given you some ideas about specific technologies. Now we've got that, better understanding with which to think about AI, and the certain knowledge that AI is going to play a part in the future of WordPress, one way or another. What are the ways that we can make WordPress better with AI? How can WordPress and AI be friends? When we think about AI, it often seems far away from WordPress. And there's some good reason for that. AI requires huge data sets and significant computing power. Ali babes, don't talk into those people listening, okay? Most WordPress sites run with limited databases and even more limited resources. So when we talk about augmenting WordPress with AI, we're always talking about external tools and services that integrate with WordPress. Now, it's important to note that there are, in fact, a bunch of everyday plugins that already use AI. There's Akismet, Jetpack's proofreading service, Security's DDoS protection, etc., all of which use machine learning technologies, machine learning being an AI family technology. So we've talked about AI and WordPress today. Often when I'm trying to think about what's going to happen in the near future, I find it helpful to zoom out and jump to 5 or 10 years in the future and then fill the gap between now and then. And here's where I got to thinking about what an AI WordPress might look like in 5 or 10 years. So it's a bit of a story, and it goes like, it's Monday morning and you've finally been given the go-ahead to revamp your company's website. You're a big fan of WordPress, so it's a no-brainer that you're going to check out the WordPress site first. You head over and a input field invites you to submit your current site's URL to the AutoPress service. The service crawls your current site, queries a couple of dozen other critical sites like Companies House, Alexa, Facebook, Google, and Amazon. It detects your current site's integrations and requests permission to query those data sets too. You allow this because WordPress is part of a consortium of trust-first technology providers. Next, AutoPress asks you a few questions to understand your motivation, business goals, resources, and current pain points. From there, you're asked a series of questions that probe your appetite for adding new features and functionality based on trends the service sees and opportunities it perceives as relevant. From the yeah, give that back, you. Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, guys. 5-year-olds are out of control. From the information on your site, about your site, the answers you give, and what it understands about your business and competition, the AutoPress service generates a brand new site, migrating and transforming the content, adding your branding, and pre-configuring all your current integrations. You swipe through a few options before you find one that you like. With the site ready to get pushed to production, you engage a content AI expert service that will create draft content for you to review and publish over the next 4 quarters to help keep the website fresh and relevant. Of course, you know that you'll hit publish of that content after a quick scan of the content, but for legal reasons, the AI can't publish it without your explicit action, which is a bit like the content AI version of the human in the loop for military drones. You log off your machine for your morning coffee break, confident that the majority of the project is complete. So, if that's a possible future for what WordPress and AI look like together, what are some interesting ways that you can start augmenting WordPress with today? And what does that near future hold? So let's start right at the beginning. This is what Wikipedia says a WordPress is. It's a web content management system, and that is a software application. It allows collaborative authoring for websites and may include text and embed lots of different types of media, display content, and interact with the user. Well, let's break those bits down and look at different ways to augment each part as well as the system as a whole. First off, collaborative authoring. How could AI help us better author content? Well, it is already replacing us where low value or high value, low latency content is needed, e.g. automated sports journalism or financial systems. Dreamwriter, which is a Tencent project, can write up a talk that you've given at a conference and have a blog post drafted by the time you sit down. This is a fantastic example. It's called This Marketing Blog Does Not Exist, and all the content on there has been generated by natural language generation algorithms. It's got tens of thousands of posts, and it performs really well in search engines. It can also help mitigate human weaknesses. So we're often not good at being able to see the signal from the noise, all of the different content and trends that are out there. So tools like Narrative Engine and Parsley Currents can help with prediction for content planning. We can use cognitive services to help us identify things like sentiment analysis, which are very subjective and they're hard for us to see subjectively. 10up have a plugin called Classify AI or Classify AI. Need to get that pronunciation down, which will connect to Azure and I believe other cognitive services to do all sorts of clever things like automatically cropping images to people's faces for different image sizes, adding alt text to images, etc. There are other plugins as well. There's one called Watson Finds, which also does sentiment analysis, this time using IBM's cognitive services. There are also kind of suggestion tools, so auto-correcting spelling and grammar. I think we'll probably see some augmenting of kind of block suggestion based on content that gets written or pasted in. I was going to put a picture of the Microsoft Word Clippy here, but I thought that would be too much. Another great example is like suggesting social media embeds that are relevant. So there's a startup called Loyal.ai that's doing this, currently just in Google Docs. So you can start writing about something and it will suggest a relevant tweet or Instagram post to help you illustrate your point. There's also automation. So there's a plugin called WordLift. By the way, all these notes are in the speaker slides. So don't worry about writing it down. That automates a lot of SEO stuff. And there's also a bunch of accessibility improvements, like the ones that we talked about with Azure's cognitive services, just to help us make sure we're communicating to everyone in an inclusive way. There's also some really good stuff around taking home production kit, home cameras, home microphones, and outputting studio quality results using machine learning to improve the quality of what can be quite lo-fi output. And then, of course, there's straight up machine generated content. This is one of my favorite AI technologies. It's called a generative adversarial network. So essentially it's two AIs, one that goes, is this a frog? And another AI that goes, no, that's not a frog. And they basically continue that process until one goes, is this a frog? And the other one goes, yeah, I think that's a frog. And you've generated an AI and you've also used it to train the generative AI to producing better frogs. This is clearly not a frog yet. However, I love the picture of the frog. This is a truer representation of the state of the art. This is a screen full of beetles. Every single one is machine generated based on an AI which was trained by looking at an open source collection of hundreds of thousands of different beetle specimens. There are other examples out there that are super cool. There's an AI meme generator that will take your favorite meme and put words in it. Some of the output of that is pretty hilarious. You can do some really cool stuff now with photography. So there's an app called Prisma, which lets you turn photos into works of art. It's produced some really stunning stuff. And there's even deepfakesweb.com, which allows you to create your own deep-faked video. And we're just going to see the price point and accessibility of these services dropping down and down. So if you want an explainer video by your favorite celebrity talking about your product, potentially that's going to be something you'll be able to do pretty soon, assuming you can license their likeness. How about this guy? He doesn't exist either. There's a whole site called This Person Does Not Exist, where you can generate faces of people that are machine generated. So really the possibilities are endless. So think about kind of collaborative authoring, going on to like putting the content out to websites. What other digital experiences can WordPress help us manage content for? So this is an example of teaching chemistry with augmented reality. And it seems quite far from WordPress, but folks still need a place to upload the model, to manage it, and to make it available for display in AR. I'm not sure why this video is spinning. It's super cool. Hopefully it'll play. I don't know whether this specific example uses any AI or not, but I can never resist including some AR in a presentation because it's just super cool. My point is that AI is going to create more and more experiences for which content still needs to be managed. A more tangible example might be using Microsoft's Q&A maker. Sorry, folks. I really don't know why this is not playing. Not cool, YouTube. Not cool. So you can use Microsoft Q&A Maker to automatically build a chatbot from a page of FAQs, or you can add a voice interface to search or read content. All that stuff is very cool. Watch the video later on. It's very, very cool. Also, the experience of content, it's going far beyond downloading spreadsheets. So as organizations progress in their own digital transformation, their ability to produce rich, interactive data sets improves. Successful businesses today, I think, are collecting useful data and structuring that for their own use and that of their customers. So previously we would have seen download this spreadsheet, download this PDF. Now we're much more likely amongst the cutting edge publishers to see live data rooms of visualizations. This one uses embedded Power BI, which is a Microsoft product. It sits on top of Microsoft Azure and their cognitive services. And it's a powerful set of technologies that help people to aggregate data sets, suggest visualizations, and gather insight from data. So that's an example of how what we embed in WordPress is going to become more and more sophisticated. So onto personalization. So this is a really difficult thing to do. Let's see if this video is going to play. Where we want to get to is personalized experiences and dynamic products. In the real world, it might look like this. You walk into a store, you stand in front of a smart mirror, and it helps you accessorize and change your look. I guess now it might be not be walking into a store, but standing in front of your computer. What are the website equivalents of this? Well, one of them is Biblio, which offers personalized related content suggestions to visitors. You can also look at tools like Elasticsearch, which apply machine learning to improve search results on top of WordPress's native search functionality. Sorry. This one I think is like insane. It blew my mind when I first saw it. So machine learning and AI could help us write better code. This is a program called Tab9, and it's a machine learning, it's a tool that uses machine learning that was trained on all of the open source GitHub repositories. So by using that huge data set, it can now predict what you're going to write as code and auto-complete, auto-suggest, kind of like what you get in VS Code, but far more extensive, going out to kind of suggest whole functions rather than just syntax. Not sure what's happening with my YouTube playback today. Sorry, folks. Okay, so you can imagine that technology like this is going to change WordPress development. Hopefully it's going to improve the content, the quality of it, make it much easier to comply with WordPress coding standards. Beyond that, how long is it before you can describe what you want a function to do, and an AI technology will be able to write that code for you. This is another one as well. This is a kind of a small example. There isn't like a great way to visualize this, but GitHub have recently included it's like code security scanner into the GitHub platform. So if you use GitHub for version control, then they will use machine learning technology to scan your code and help you avoid security issues. That's like really up in the game of code generally. It's also going to be massively useful to the WordPress community. You know, is that a really good reason to move the WordPress code repos to GitHub? Maybe it is. There are also other other ways in which AI and machine learning can help us create a better overall quality posture. So Cloudflare has a Data Dome product that offers bot protection. WP Engine has Smart Plugin Manager, which uses machine learning to automatically apply updates and roll back if there's a problem. And we're just going to see more and more of this. And the WordPress project itself, we should also pause to talk about AI's impact on the whole project. Arguably, WordPress should stand to benefit from AI in a greater way than its competitors. WordPress is fragmented and huge. For SaaS platforms, the code and data structures are standardized, so the challenges that they face are more easily solved with non-intelligent solutions. Obviously, that's not to say what they do is simple or easy. I'm sure they're pushing forward with AI technologies even more quickly than the WordPress project. What I mean is that we have more problems to solve as a community. Auto updates against heterogeneous code bases, infrastructures and databases is exactly the sort of thing that AI can help with. So we have further to travel, but we may also be able to leverage, like AI may be able to deliver more value. And there are questions here, right? If we're going to look to an AI-powered WordPress future, would the AI itself be open sourced? And if not, how would the open source project be affected by such a powerful tool or suite of tools? One that would potentially disrupt the whole WordPress ecosystem, perhaps putting a whole class of WordPress jobs at risk. Would that price be worth paying for software that could create so much more value for its users and the world at large? And in fact, hang on, I can already think of modular plugins that leverage AI services that are connected to millions of WordPress sites. There are ecosystem giants that have the penetration, the data, and the resources to introduce disruptive AI. I want to be clear, this isn't me beating up on any of these companies, far from it. I think it's inevitable. AI is a technology that relies on big data to train big models with big computes and big connectivity to feed the model and leverage the results. I can think of a few folks other than the ones that I've shown there who either are or should be investing heavily in AI technologies right now. And as the power of these services increases, it's going to start raising important questions about the relationship between the open source project and these AI tools and the larger companies who will probably end up controlling them. So how does WordPress benefit from AI without losing its independence? So a quick wrap, I think I'm out of time. What about the threats and opportunities before then? What opportunities exist? Could we start doing automated migration into Gutenberg blocks based on HTML DOM? Could we start doing automated diagnosis of white screen of death? Could we start connecting and leveraging the network effect of so many WordPress sites? Perhaps even something like a globally distributed version of Shopify, harnessed by, connected and harnessed by machine learning. Could we auto-suggest how to make WordPress posts more readable? Insert an image here, or this seems like a good opportunity for a quote. How do we integrate no-code layouts like Bubble and Webflow? How do we learn from those?
David, I'm very sorry.
Is that
just
the time?
Pause you just for a second whilst we just respect the clap for the carers. We'll be back in 60 seconds.
No, I'm done now. It's cool.
David, I'm very sorry to have interrupted you there. Did you want to continue? Are you still a little bit more there just to finish up?
No, I don't want to carry on after that. I don't think it's hard to it's hard to continue from such a kind of.
Yes, I'm sorry.
real
It's
thing, isn't
it's
it?
one of those
No,
really
no.
awkward ones, which we're stuck on the exact time. We have to just interrupt that moment.
It's
But
a really effective way of stopping a speaker who's overflowing.
no, not at all. You do still have some time if you wanted to wrap up. But fantastic, a lot of great content in there, and it's such a big subject as well, isn't it? There's so much to cover. I appreciate the. I mean, even if we had a couple of hours here, we still wouldn't be scratching the surface of the topic.
Yeah, and I'm desperate to find more and more examples of this as well. So if any of you all have like better examples or more examples, like just shout out, because I think the more we can help people understand, like break down that monolithic, like, oh, it's AI, into, you know, here are some of the technologies within that, here are the ways they're useful, the better. We need to get more in front of this. It's not a tomorrow thing, it's a today, and to some extent a yesterday thing. We're already late to this party.
Absolutely. I mean, we've had several questions come in from the community. I just want to kick off. There's been a couple around the idea of being a kind of a newbie into this and where to start. Do you have any advice for anybody that's really maybe not particularly familiar with the topic and want to just cover how to get started, really, particularly looking at WordPress and AI?
There are some really good resources out there. I've tried to link to a whole bunch in the speaker notes. I think Amy Webb's, so she does a really amazing presentation at South by Southwest, which is a massive tech show out in the States. And she's very, very lucid, talking about technology trends and what they mean. Her organization, the Future Trends Institute, produces a massive open sourced kind of report every year about what's happening with different types of technology, everything from 4D, additive printing to drones to AI. That's a really good place to start, just to get a feel for the state of the art and the companies that are active there. 10up have put a white paper out recently about WordPress and machine learning and AI as well. That's really good. I will be putting this deck online probably after WordCamp Europe now. But there's a ton of links in there. Like, I think I learn everything on Twitter, honestly. Just spending too much time on Twitter seems to be my professional education.
Excellent. Was it Twitter where you found that AR chemistry video? I've just shared the link below there.
Yeah.
It looked fantastic.
I'm sorry I didn't play. It's like, it's so frustrating.
The joy of technology in these virtual.
Imagine the grades we'd have got down at school if we had that sort of like interactive learning.
Absolutely fantastic, wouldn't it? It's so difficult. Giving these talks are particularly difficult at the moment because you haven't obviously there's no audience, is there? It's very difficult when you're just simply talking.
There's some audience.
I would endorse. I would endorse. What Dan is saying there, David. I mean, I know that you're staring at a screen, that you're just looking at yourself, and obviously your family in the room.
Sorry about that.
That was great. We love that. And it is difficult to do these things, but it's showing how. I mean, it was a fascinating thing that you were talking about. I mean, one of the questions that I had in my mind, we keep mentioning AI and we keep mentioning machine learning. Are these two interchangeable? And where is the relevance, particularly to WordPress, of these two terms?
Yeah, great question. So, there are. Like, machine learning is one of the kind of technologies within the AI family. Others include that generative adversarial network. So adversarial machine learning, there's deep learning, there's like cognitive services like computer vision, being able to understand what's in a photo, being able to like auto suggest text. So like analyzing sentiment, all these things are different technologies. Some of them have like quite discrete, quite narrow applications. Other ones are actually, a little bit broader, and we can imagine there's more that can happen with them. So I think the ones that are really interesting for WordPress are around where they have an application to human communication, so natural language understanding, machine reading comprehension, natural language generation, generative algorithms for voice and sound and video. There's a link to this guy who's got he's just got like a standard microphone at home, and he's like literally banging a drum, shaking a rattler. He's talking, and it's crystal clear, like studio quality. So like those kinds of technologies where even if we're confined here and our hardware is the hardware we've got in front of us, it's still going to make us look $1 million. And
yeah, I've seen a few of those in play, and I've seen how it does the translation, and a couple of the ones where you can actually sit there and take your own voice. If you record enough of your voice, you can then actually put a whole sentence and whole sentences together, and it's hard to tell the level.
That's all the,
and I suppose
that's all the deep fake stuff as well. Like, you know, people
yeah,
are being
absolutely
scammed now by phone calls.
Absolutely. I think if you can walk around with a blonde wig on, you can be deep fake about anything that you like, and that seems to happen. Run a country, but that's beside the point. It is very interesting how you.
He's not that deep, is he, Leo?
No, I know, but it is. I mean, do you see that we're going to need regulation for some of this? And I know we're running out of time, but do you see that we're going to need regulation on some of these areas?
Well, now you've got me to my like glass of whiskey late at night, you know, deep and meaningful
It
stuff.
didn't take long. It doesn't normally.
It really doesn't, no, especially with the whiskey. But you know, this is one of the kind of questions of our time. Are the institutions that we created 200 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, before we were digital humans, are they still fit for purpose, or are we actually now witnessing like the birth of new generations of institution that are more suitable for people that have digital technologies? You know, is there now a way that government can get back ahead of tech giants? You know, we're in an age where Amazon is writing its own legislation around facial technology.
Yeah.
Facebook, Uber, Google are all creating banks. You know, the ways in which, like, Google's the biggest lobbyist in Washington. You know, it's insane to expect that these technologies aren't going to disrupt our societies themselves. I think there was a really incredible podcast on Azim Azar's exponential view with I want to say president, could have been prime minister of Estonia, incredible lady. And you know, coming out of the Warsaw Pact, becoming independent, and looking at the way they baked digital services into governments, like starting 20 years ago, means that now the only government service you actually need to show up for in person is marriage. Everything else can be done digitally, and they've solved things at a kind of logical foundational level. So they have personal identity provision and personal data management baked into their laws, baked into the technology that people use. So there's none of this question about who owns that data. It's very, very clear. And the legislation is built on that. In the UK, in the US, that just hasn't happened. And in fact, we rely on really weird, antiquated laws about who owns data to now try and backtrack and regulate companies which are probably more powerful than, you know, most national governments. So
I think
do we need legislation, and can we get there? Are different questions. I think actually, do we want clowns like Johnson, etc., writing and enacting laws, or do we trust our own communities and you know, the global community? I think these are the questions that I love.
As I've also seen you talk about Bitcoin, which is, I know we could spend many hours talk about as well, and now could see another area that we've lined you up for your third talk. It's been fabulous. I mean, some of the points that you brought up there and some of the examples, I think we're all going to see or realize that we're actually seeing things that, as anybody would say, 20 years ago, they would never expect us to be able to do certain things. And you look at the technology, and the technology changes, and it's always, however fast you think technology changes, it changes faster. And if you're not doing it and you're not running at that speed, you're left behind. And I think that's definitely what we can see, and it's brilliant to hear from you and Pragmatic about what you're doing in that area.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for feedback. Feel free to send me the scathing comments privately.
I don't think there's any. I think the biggest comment was not enough of your children on screen was probably the only complaint.
Yeah, she's pretty cute.
Yeah,
That was
David-
pretty good.
David,
we like that.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And you really dealing with that situation, it was fantastic. So, unfortunately, we do need to move on. So, David, I'm going to take you off screen, and we're going to invite Topher up to come and join us.
Awesome. Thank you, David.
Take care. Speak soon.
Bye,
Thanks,
guys.
David.
Thank you.
See you.
Topher,
Bye, David.
welcome. Welcome, flying all the way in from the States to come and join us.
Oh,
Thank you
yeah.
so much.
There.
How are you, my friend?
Doing well.
Good. Good.
It's warm and muggy here in Michigan in the States.
Oh, is it? Yeah, we're rapidly heading into our nighttime here. But again, another exciting talk. I'm really looking forward to hearing this. So, Toby, you are the senior developer advocate in
very different.
Yes, BigCommerce, and you're going to be talking to us tonight about giving us a bit of a technical walkthrough of BigCommerce.
Yeah, BigCommerce for WordPress specifically.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, excellent. Very much looking forward to this.
All right.
If anybody does have any questions at all whilst Topher is speaking, please do drop them in the chat. We'll be sure to come back and have a live chat, live Q&A with you after your talk. But for now, we are just going to bring up your slides on screen. Have we got those shared and ready to go? Okay, yes, we can see those. Okay, so I've got your slides up there, and I'm going to now duck out and hand it over to you. So, Topher, thank you very much.
All righty. Thank you. As we mentioned, we're going to be doing an introduction to BigCommerce for WordPress. It's an exciting thing. I had not heard much of BigCommerce before I was hired there to work with the WordPress project. And over the last couple of years, I've become deeply impressed with the power and flexibility of the BigCommerce SaaS and what it can do with WordPress. For those that don't know me, my name is Topher. It's the second half of Christopher, and I'm the senior developer advocate at BigCommerce. You can see a hashtag there, BC for WP. I tweet using that all the time, so if you want to keep up there, you can. If you want to find me on the internet, I'm at Topher1Kenobi pretty much everywhere. Twitter, Slack, Facebook, you name it. You Google for that, you'll find me. I've been a web developer now for 25 years and a WordPress developer for 10 years. And it's hard to imagine how the world has changed since all that began. Before I get, well, let me tell you about the agenda here. We're gonna do an overview of how it was built and how it works. We're gonna look at some themes, plugins, and integrations. We'll look at some common use cases, and then at the end, we'll do a demonstration. Before I get too far in, though, I want to tell you a quick story about how I got started in e-commerce. Back in the early 2000s, I was freelancing, and a customer came to me and said, I would like to sell things on my website. And I thought, how hard can it be? There are credit card processors. They have code samples. I'll just make it happen. And about a week later of no sleep and ragged food and a terrible, terrible time, I said, I will never, ever, ever do e-commerce again. This is horrible. And a wise friend said to me, even if you got it right, what are you going to do 6 months or a year or 5 years from now when the website is hacked and your code is somehow connected to people losing a lot of money? And that scared me. I thought, I don't think I ever want to do e-commerce again, not just because of the code, but there's a lot that can go wrong. And it's now nearly 20 years later, and things have changed dramatically. Plugins take away a lot of the headache, pre-built code, And then organizations like companies like BigCommerce step in and take a lot of the danger out of it, a lot of the fear out of it. So I'm going to show you how all that works and see what you think. So, quick overview. When we wanted to build a WordPress plugin, we quite quickly realized we're not a WordPress company. It's not what we do. So we went out and looking for the best, and we found Modern Tribe. They're a WordPress VIP agency, and they are continuing to build the plugin and will for the foreseeable future. They're fantastically brilliant with WordPress. And one of the reasons we picked them is they wanted to build it the WordPress way rather than get really custom with a bunch of custom tables, etc. They wanted to build it in a way that a WordPress freelancer can walk into it and feel very comfortable, know how things work, and it feels like home. The project is still managed and driven by BigCommerce, though. We still make all the decisions about the roadmap and features and things like that. We get asked all the time, why WordPress? Why did we do this? Our end goal is actually headless e-commerce so that you can use any CMS. We have a number of Drupal stores out there using BigCommerce, using BigCommerce as the SaaS, React stores, Adobe Creative. No, not the Creative Suite. Their website thing. You can run BigCommerce the SaaS on just about any CMS. But we wanted to make a model. We wanted to choose something that we could set up as the very best. And so we picked WordPress for a couple of reasons. Obviously, one is that it powers 36% of the entire web. That's a really big target. Another is that aside from our own system, WordPress is by far the most used CMS by our merchant base. Everybody's got a WordPress site for their content marketing and all that kind of stuff. And they used to ask us all the time, can we install WordPress right in BigCommerce? And the answer is no, because that's not how a SaaS works. Another reason is that within the WordPress ecosystem, there was really only one option, which I will not mention, but whose logo is there. And we've had a number of people who love WooCommerce come to us and say, hey, I'm really glad you're in the community now because competition is going to drive innovation. And it has. We've been very happy with how we have changed and some of the things that we've seen come out of WooCommerce. And then the BigCommerce WordPress plugin solves some pretty serious issues with WooCommerce. Woo tends to get slower the more successful your store is. The more sales you have, the larger the database tables get, and those complicated meta queries will really get after you. I'm going to sneeze here in just a second, so you'll have to excuse me. And we wanted to provide more power and flexibility to our main platform. As an e-commerce platform, BigCommerce is tremendously powerful. It's really amazing. As a content management system, it's not that great, but that's okay. It's not what it's for. And so by merging the power of the BigCommerce e-commerce platform with the content management of WordPress, that opens up an awful lot of doors. So I want to tell you a little bit about basic functionality. And this is going to feel very at home if you're a developer at all. Products are stored in a standard WordPress custom post type, and categories and brands are just taxonomies. It's very normal stuff. So if you like working with WP Query, you're going to know how to deal with our products and things like that. A big difference is that product data is managed on BigCommerce. So you don't click edit here in WordPress to edit a product. In the screenshot there on the right, you can see there's an open in BigCommerce link. You would click there to edit that product. And then when it's done, you would come back here and you could either click that resync link right there, or just above here, you can't see it in the screenshot, but there's one to sync all products actually. And then it can sync on a schedule as well. So you could not even come back and it would eventually take effect. So that's one of the big differences between BigCommerce for WordPress and WooCommerce is that your products, your payment gateways, your shipping settings, all that stuff is on the BigCommerce server, not in WordPress. The shopping cart is pretty standard shopping cart fare. You're looking at the mini cart. You can have your cart on a full page. If you clicked view cart there, it would take you to a full page cart. Or you can skip having a cart altogether and just go directly to checkout, which is great if you have one product. Something that's a little different about it is that as products are added and removed, they ping the BigCommerce API so that inventory is kept up to date, so that the BigCommerce SaaS knows that somebody has a product in a cart that they haven't bought yet, so don't sell it out from under them, things like that. Checkout is pretty unique. There are two different options for checkout. One is to have an embedded iframe right in your WordPress site. And at first I was a little wary of that because iframes are iframes, and I'm a web developer and they don't work well together. But Modern Tribe did a fantastic job embedding this. I have not been able to find a single problem with it. It's flawless. It's beautiful. I love it. One of the your other option is to leave your site and go to a page on BigCommerce, which can be themed to look like the rest of your WordPress site. And the big advantage there is that the full page one can leverage the checkout SDK that we have for really extensive customizations. The embedded checkout is less customizable. So it's more beautiful, but less customizable. So you have to look at your needs and figure out which one is right for you. Now let's talk about themes, plugins, and integrations. Any modern WordPress theme will functionally work with BC for WP. That doesn't mean that they're all appropriate. For example, 2020 has two templates. One is very, very wide and one is very, very narrow. And neither one of them look very good with e-commerce, with any platform. So while you can turn it on and there will be no errors, it won't necessarily look that great. Now that said, we've actually put some 2020 templates into the BigCommerce for WordPress plugin so that if somebody just fires up WordPress for the first time and uses the default theme, it will still look good. Well, reasonably good. It looks like 2020. If you like 2020, then it's going to look fantastic. And we did that partly to show that you can take a theme and edit the templates and make it look good, even if it wasn't originally designed for e-commerce. A common problem we've run into is that many e-commerce themes are actually WooCommerce themes, particularly the less experienced to the developer. So a less experienced developer will tend to hard code a lot of WooCommerce functions right into the theme, and then, which is great if you're using WooCommerce, but if you're using any other e-commerce plugin, it's not going to work. So something we've worked on is adding a WooCommerce compatibility layer that will mitigate a lot of that. We'll probably never get all of it because somebody's always going to do something unique, but we're making it so that on the whole, there's minimal work to use a WooCommerce theme for BigCommerce. The theme I have here in the picture is called Shoptimizer. There is a WooCommerce version and a BigCommerce for WordPress version, and it's fantastic. It's beautiful. It works very, very well. Has a ton of customizations. The artwork is good. And when I say artwork, I mean actually the way they manage colors and layouts. You can make good choices to make a beautiful design. So, in my opinion, that's the best example of a theme built specifically for BC for WP. Plugins is a big deal, I think. Your average WooCommerce store has between 5 and 20 or 30 plugins in addition. to provide the functionality you want, which is an inherent problem. If they're well written, they're not going to cause problems. But when the time comes to update, things can get a little sticky. If you need to update WooCommerce and all but 3 of your plugins work, but those 3 are really needed, then you can't update WooCommerce. And it can take time, etc. We tried really hard to build all the core functionality you need right into BigCommerce for WordPress so that you don't have to add a bunch of extra plugins. So when there's a new version, you do the update and you're done. Piece of cake. Now, that said, we wanted to allow for creativity in the plugin community. What if they want to build something really creative that we never thought of, which harkens back to building this the WordPress way. So you can see here in the screenshot on the top right, it's the resources tab within the plugin, and there are some great plugins that you can use. WP Rocket is great for caching, and it comes with full BC for WP support, so you don't have to try and figure out what pages to whitelist and all of that. Search WP, Facet WP, there's great for finding the products that you're looking for. Draw Attention is a wonderful content forward plugin for showcasing your products and making it easy to buy them. I really recommend it. It's really fun. I have a review here on the bottom right from a guy named Ren who runs Elegant Modules, and he does for a living. He builds add-ons for all the major page builders, and so I asked him about building one for Elementor, and he said, "Sure, I'll give it a shot. We'll see how it works." And 2 days later, he came back to me and said, "Wow, that was great. I have a beta ready for you." So he was really impressed with the code base. We wanted to build it the WordPress way, but you never know if you did it right until an actual developer tries it. And he was very impressed with it. And that made me really, really happy. Which brings us right smoothly to page builders. BC for WP is fully Gutenberg compatible. In fact, we were one of the first plugins to be so. In the State of the Word in 2018, Matt Mullenweg put BigCommerce for WordPress on the big screen for all the world to see as a model of Gutenberg compatibility. So that was really exciting. From the beginning, we have not had any conflicts with any of the page builders, which is to say there would be no errors and it would work, but we didn't have any specific functionality. That is changing. Beaver Builder was the first to make that change. They have full BigCommerce for WordPress support built into Beaver Themer. So if you want to build a theme with Beaver Builder, you can do that. And you can build custom product pages and archive pages and things like that. It's really slick. I like it a lot. They have great documentation. As I mentioned, Ren from Elegant Modules is building the Elementor module. It's available now. It's in beta, but we haven't had any problems with it so far. It's really smooth. And then once he's done with that, he's going to move right on to Divi. So within the next couple months, I hope you'll have full page builder support from all of the major ones. And then we come to integrations, and this is where BigCommerce really stands out. BigCommerce has, similar to the plugin repo for WordPress, we have our app integration repo. And these are intended for high-end use. So they're good for both small stores, but all the way up to enterprise. So they can take a lot of pressure and still really shine. So because they were written for the BigCommerce platform, anything that is intended to affect customer-facing pages probably isn't going to work yet because they didn't anticipate WordPress when they were built. However, anything built for during checkout or after is going to work great because the checkout actually happens on the BigCommerce stores, servers. So things like inventory management, customer management, anything that runs after checkout is going to work great. and we have hundreds and hundreds of integrations. So there's a ton of power there, things that aren't necessarily going to be available anywhere else in WordPress. So let's look at a couple of use cases. When to choose BigCommerce for WordPress. One of them is when rock solid support is needed. And by support, I mean a variety of things. One is that we provide 24/7 phone support. And I don't know of any WordPress plugin of any type that offers 24/7 phone support. This support is most ideal for merchant use. So once you've built your site and handed it off to a merchant, they're going to want to call and say, hey, my site's down. What's wrong? And, oh, sorry, there was a backhoe outside your house that night. Things like that. If you want developer support, that's a whole nother area. And I'm going to get to that in the next slide. But beyond phone support, there are specialists available for consultation, people who know everything there is to know about shipping or taxes or PCI compliance or any of that. You're not alone. My big fear as a freelancer when I was alone is that I would get in way over my head. And with BigCommerce as a team member, you're not going to have that. There's always somebody there who has an answer. My third point there is that the e-commerce part of PCI compliance is taken care of. And that's a huge deal. If you've never ever dealt with PCI compliance, you know. And if you never have, please don't. It's horrible. Being able to pass that off to experts is priceless. And then when a developer partnership is useful, if you are a developer, you can become an agency partner with BigCommerce, and then you get a dedicated BigCommerce representative. So when you need help or support or something, you can get a hold of them directly, and they facilitate things. They get answers for you. They make things happen. Then if you are a developer and you bring a new merchant to BigCommerce, you get 30% of their monthly fee for as long as they're a customer of BigCommerce. The lowest price is $30 a month, so that would be $9 a month. But if you bring in a larger merchant and they start paying much more, you still get that 30%. And so this can be a significant income especially if you're a freelancer. And then you get invitations to the company town hall meetings and other meetings like it. And you learn about the roadmap and changes that are coming, and you can ask questions and you can push the direction of the company to a certain extent. So it's you become an insider when you become an agency partner, and there's no cost for it. You just sign up and you learn about the company, and you take a test, and you're in. So I highly recommend it if you're going to be building sites with BigCommerce for WordPress. Also, we have a partner listing, so you get listed as a partner, and so somebody could go looking on our listing for a partner near them who does WordPress, and there aren't that many yet who are in the WordPress tab. So you would get listed in a pretty small group. It's well worth it, in my opinion. And then when resource management is important, and by resources, I mean a variety of things. One is finances. BC for WP averages 30% cheaper annually than WooCommerce. And WooCommerce will continue to grow in price based on success, if for no other reason, in hosting. As your hosting needs grow, you're going to end up paying more and more. And your hosting needs probably won't grow with BigCommerce for WordPress because we don't store a lot of data on your WordPress site. We're not going to increase customer tables on every customer. We're not going to increase orders tables on every order or anything like that. Which brings us there to that system. Server resources grow with every sale in WooCommerce. Every time there's a product or every time there's a sale, several database tables get added and the meta queries get bigger and uglier. And that's just not a thing with BigCommerce for WordPress. And then time. I mentioned this earlier. If you have a whole bunch of add-ons for your WordPress or your WooCommerce store, and there's a new version of WooCommerce, you have to update a lot of things, and they don't always go smoothly, the updates. And so then you're spending an afternoon updating a site, and then how many sites are you maintaining for your customers? How often does that have to happen? The time can get away from you pretty quick. So updating BigCommerce for WordPress is a lot easier. So let's look at some examples. These are pretty fun. Bulk Nutrients is a store out of Australia. They sell health supplements and whatnot. And their main store is not in WordPress. It's on the BigCommerce platform. And they wanted to try selling in New Zealand. Well, rather than spin up a whole nother BigCommerce store, they just spun up a WordPress site and pulled some of their products in. And they're using it as an MVP, minimum viable product, to see if it's going to work. And so far, it's working very well. But the key here is that they were able to very, very quickly spin up a new store using the same inventory as their other store, the same payment gateways, the same everything, to test to see if this would work. And while I'm here, I want to mention that we have a thing called channels on BigCommerce, where you have your main store, but then there's also a channel called Amazon, and you can sell your products in Amazon from your BigCommerce store, and also Facebook and Instagram and eBay. And now WordPress is a channel also. So previously we made the channels and you could use them. You didn't have to negotiate with Amazon. We took care of that. But now you can make as many channels as you want as WordPress as well. So we've had people spin up dozens of stores off of their main store, and it uses the same inventory and the same settings for everything. It's really, really smooth. And it's cool to be able to sell in a bunch of different places, in a bunch of different ways using this method. Louise Kennedy. Some of you may have heard of this store. It's based out of Ireland. They do multi-currency, which is really cool. But the thing that gets me excited as a WordPress nerd is that they're choosing the currency choice based on GeoIP. So they're figuring out where you are ahead of time and presenting to you the proper currency. That's pretty cool. We can't. That's something you cannot do on the main BigCommerce platform. Blush. This is a makeup company, and they integrated a reward points system. So when you buy, you get points, and then you can use them to get free product, etc. And the other cool thing I really like is they have a recommended product in the cart. And I didn't expect this. When I was getting ready for this, I just added something to my cart, and right there it said, oh, hey, you may want to buy this thing as well. And I asked them how they did it, and they said, oh, we just made a meta field and put the URL of the other product in it, which is really simple, much simpler than it would be on BigCommerce, the main platform. So that's really cool. I like that a lot. And then this is a great example of a CBD store. Most e-commerce platforms still don't let you sell CBD products. BigCommerce has been on the front lines of that from the very beginning. As soon as things started to become legal in the US, we immediately said, hey, sell your CBD products with us. And it's exceptionally difficult on Shopify. It's still quite difficult with WooCommerce, but we fully support it. So that's kind of a big deal. And I'm going to give you a demonstration, show you how it looks, how it works. Oh, I went the wrong direction. There we go. This is a very vanilla WordPress install. I'm using GeneratePress as a theme, using their simplest theme available because I want to show you what the default styles look like. I made a homepage and a blog page, and that's about it. So the first thing I'm going to do is install BigCommerce for WordPress, and it's in the WordPress repository, just like all good plugins are. And you can see it right here. I'm running a local version with local WP, so it takes just a second to do the downloading of the plugin. So we activate it, and the first thing it does after activation is take you to a wizard to help you get set up. And you have 3 options here. You can create a brand new account on BigCommerce, and you get a free 15-day trial. If you already have an account, you can log into it. And if you've actually done this a bunch of times, you can just enter API credentials directly, and that can speed up the process a little bit. I'm going to connect an account that already exists, and click here to authorize. And I have an existing store. And logging in this way is a lot like connecting to Twitter or Facebook to log into something. Here with me while I log in. And just like that, now WordPress is connected to BigCommerce. Here we need to select a channel, and I talked about channels a few minutes ago. Typically, if this is your first time, you would choose to create a new channel, and it would suggest your domain name. I recommend sticking with that. You can be anything you want, but domain names really help with organization. Now, because I've already done this, I'm actually going to choose my domain name off the list. And then you could choose to have products automatically brought over from BigCommerce, or you can say, no, I don't want any brought over, and I will manually pick and choose so that you could have a subset of your products on one site. We also have webhooks so that BigCommerce can talk to your store. Because I'm running local and I'm behind a firewall, I'm going to leave mine turned off because it wouldn't get through my firewall anyway. And then if you need to, you can always click start over. But let's proceed. One of the things that is optional here is to create a WordPress menu. And this is creating a very normal WordPress menu that you'll find under appearance later. But you could choose create new menu. If you had some others, you could choose to add to one. I'm going to make mine my e-commerce menu. And as is common with many plugins, this one has created some pages. So these are all pages now that have been created under pages. And you can choose to add them to your nav or not. And that's it. We're connected. Now, you still need to do things on the BigCommerce server, like set up a payment method and configure shipping and configure taxes. But there are links right here directly to those areas in the admin to help you get that set up. It's super simple. If you choose to do it later, there's a link here on the left called Launch Steps, which will bring you back here and help you get through all of these steps. They're not very difficult at all. BigCommerce has done a really great job of making it really seamless. So now I actually want to go to the front of the site and show you that my cool nav is not being used, because by default, WordPress lists all pages in the nav. And that's what we have right now. So our next step is to go to Appearance, Menus, and there's the one that we made. And we're going to add it to the primary menu and also the AMP hamburger menu. BigCommerce worked early to make the plugin fully AMP supported. And it worked so well that many of the developers who worked on the AMP project, when they were done with ours, moved on to Google to work on the WordPress AMP project. And so that's pretty cool. So I save my menu and reload. And there I have a beautiful menu. Categories and brands are pulled over from BigCommerce, just like products are. So all of your product organization is maintained if you have it over there. So now that I've shown you the menu, actually, I'm going to go back to the back end a little bit. And there are kind of two settings areas. There's a settings area here in the admin that is for system level things. And then there are also a bunch of settings under Customizer, which we'll look at in a few minutes, which are more for presentational settings. You can see here there's a blue bar that's actually doing a sync. And right now it's pulling in the products, and you can see about how fast it goes. It can go faster based on your system power. This is my little Mac laptop, so it's not going super fast. But the API can handle up to 400 requests per second. So it can be very, very quick. This block here at the top will stay until these things have been set up. Deep dark secret, they already have been because I did this before. So now I can hit refresh here on the right, and it goes away. And you'll note there was a brief error with the sync. The error was actually because the page was reloading. The sync will continue regardless of where you go, so you don't have to stay right here on this page. We have a section here for product sync. You can choose to have it automatically go anywhere from 5 minutes out to a month. Here's that automatic listing option again. And then import batch size. I mentioned the API can do 400 requests per second, but WordPress cannot, because each request pulls in an entire product and all of its images, which need to be processed. And that takes more than a second. So you can choose how many products come in at once. So right now it's set to 5. So it will request 5 products, process them, and then do 5 more, etc. If you have a low budget server, you may want to set this lower. If you have a really powerful server, you can set it much higher. And here's our webhooks option again. I'm not going to go through all of these because they're pretty self-explanatory. Cart, you can choose to not have a cart at all. You can choose to have embedded checkout or the full page checkout right here. We have gift certificate settings, currency settings, analytics, etc. Diagnostics is important. If you click get diagnostics, it will just tell you a lot about the server. But if you enable error logs, it will give you a full log of what the sync is doing. So you can watch. See, right now it's done. But if there were a problem, you could watch the error log and see the error as it happens, which is really, really handy. We have a products menu here, and you can see them all here. These are sample products that came from BigCommerce. And as I mentioned in the presentation, you don't want to use this edit button. You would want to open in BigCommerce, which I can just do right here. And this is a product. The UI is similar to most stores because the data needed is the same across most stores. So once you made changes here, you would come back and click resync, and this product would be updated. We have a resources tab. The last thing I'm going to show you here in the back end. This is where you can come find things that are known to work well with the plugin. So there are some themes. Here are those plugins, apps that work well. And here you can find some support links for both developers and merchants. And then we have some great video tutorials that are good both for developers and beginning merchants. Some of them are just how it works, which are pretty useful. So now let's go to the front end, and I want to show you a few things. We click all products. Here we have an archive page full of products, and it works just like you would expect. There's a search featured, so you can sort by things. You can shop by categories or brands. I already have a product in my cart because I added it earlier. So there's my teapot, and you'll note that there's a little circle showing how many. So actually, I'm going to remove this one. It says your cart is empty, and I'll add this thing, and it pops up a nice little Ajax confirmation. And now I have that in my cart. And from here, I can either proceed to checkout or view cart. We'll do view cart so that you can see what it looks like. If you did not have the mini cart turned on, you would go directly here when you clicked. And if we go to checkout, I can show you what that looks like. This is the embedded checkout right in my own store. I'm already logged in, so it knows who I am. If I continue, I can choose a test gateway and buy this expensive laundry hamper. You can do coupons right here. And click to apply. Place an order. And that's it. Now I have placed an order. And as far as the customer is concerned, they've not left the site. They have no idea. I want to show you a little bit more here on this page. We have a quick view, so you can just get a little modal that pops up. If you click the title, then it goes to a full page, which has things like product descriptions, specifications, reviews, and related products, etc. So now I want to show you what's in the customizer, because that's pretty powerful. Right here is a BigCommerce link. You can change the text on any button. So if you need something different from what comes default, you can. You can change the colors of a variety of things, buttons and whatnot. And if you wish, you can turn off styles altogether and use your own from your own theme. Let's look at the catalog next. So right at the top, it says all products, and you can change it to say anything you want, just like that. The slugs by default are products for this page, and then categories and brands for those taxonomies. You can change them to whatever you want. So you could do /store or /shop or whatever you want. You can put in a description, just like that. You can change what you allow people to sort by. So if you don't want reviews, you click that, and now reviews is not on this list. And you could also get rid of the filters by categories and brands if you wished. You can change the grid column. Right now we have 4 with 24 for page. So I'm actually going to make it 3 with 9 per page. And now we get this nice grid of 9 products. And then if you want, you can turn off disable or turn off quick view just by clicking disable. So now if you click one of the images, it goes directly to the product. I'm going to leave that enabled because I'm going to want it back in a few minutes. So then I'm going to click on a single one and show you what's in the customizer for singles. You can show as many related products as you want. We have 4. And because my page is narrow, that looks funny. So I'm just going to make it 3. That's much better. You can choose a default image if this one is not to your needs, or if there isn't one for your product. You can change the gallery size. So watch how big this one is. And then if I click large, it is now much bigger. And this would stay on the side if my browser wasn't using all this customizer space. But we'll leave it there. You can enable product zoom and do this sort of thing. And it works for all the products. And for price display, this price is actually coming directly from BigCommerce over the API, not local storage, because we need to have the absolute latest information on the price. However, as the page loads, it uses the locally stored version as a placeholder. And that's what it's doing right now. But if I click hide default price, watch right here, you'll see that it delays a minute. If you show default price, then it doesn't do that the same way. You can choose to always show inventory or only show low. I'm not actually tracking inventory on the store, so I can't show that to you. But you could choose to show inventory all the time. For cart, you can choose to have the mini cart or not. And then within the cart, you saw there was a message that said it was empty. You can put in some text and then have it link either to the homepage or the product catalog when the cart is empty. For embedded checkout, you can, I mentioned that it's pretty limited what you can do for design. You can change the colors, but there is a checkout API that you can use. It's actually the analytics API that you can use to inject CSS files and JavaScript into the embedded checkout. So you do have some more power than what you see right here. So that's it for the customizer. I'm going to hit publish here and close that. And we still have our cool grid of 9. And that's it. That's how BigCommerce for WordPress works. It's really quite simple. It's very, very fast. And I really like it. I've been a web developer for a long time. And I've built some Woo stores. I built some with other products, some really horrible open source systems. And this is by far my favorite. And I'm not just saying that because I work there. So now, my last slide, I can give you these slides, but you can email me at any time at topher@bigcommerce.com. Find me at Topher1Kenobi. We have some links there for WordPress learning, and for VC for WP resources, we have the developer docs, and there's also a developer Slack for all of BigCommerce. WordPressers are always welcome, of course. If you would like to get into that Slack, you certainly may. Just shoot me an email, and I can make that happen. And now it is time for questions.
Topher, thank you so much. Thank you. Really appreciate you taking your time to share that with us.
Yeah.
Those slides for you. We have had some questions come in. Sorry, I can hear myself. Where's that coming from? Oh, that's better.
Yep.
Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just want to kick off. There's been a couple of comments just around the platform and the concept of it. I'm personally interested in the idea of using APIs to connect to the store and potentially. Oh, sorry, Paul. Do you mind if I just mute you? The idea of is there the potential to use this across a headless WordPress is a direction that a lot of people are taking at the moment. Is this something that we can potentially be looking at here with BigCommerce as well? The use of the APIs into headless WordPress.
Absolutely. We have a tight integration with Gatsby. So if you're already doing headless WordPress with Gatsby, you can bring this in as well and be doing e-commerce in Gatsby. What else is there? There's mobile apps. You can build, of course, a mobile app off of WordPress, but using the API, you could also include your products there. It's pretty flexible. In general with headless, I like the idea that you're not tied to a CMS. So if you're on Drupal and you want to move to WordPress, you can and take your store with you, or the other direction, or run both at the same time, or build something all on your own for fun. It's exciting.
It is. I thought it was really interesting hearing about the idea that you could have the same inventory across multiple stores. The potential there, I think, is huge. Have you got any examples of kind of the size of sites that the number of sites that people are using with multiple inventories across them at all?
I know of quite a few that are doing just a couple stores. Anecdotally, I've heard from merchants who said, I'm running hundreds of stores. Now, you're not going to run 100 or 1,000 stores off our $30 a month plan. You're going to move up to the higher tiers, but you can still do it. So if I know people that do individual sites for individual products. They sell one thing, and so they don't, or they sell many things, but only one per site. So they have a landing kit, basically a landing site. But they obviously don't want to set up 100 BigCommerce stores. They just set up 100 WordPress stores. But recently, WP Landing Kit came out, which allows you to assign a URL to any WordPress object. So every page, every post, every image, anything can get its own URL. So if you put BigCommerce for WordPress on a single WordPress site, you could use WP Landing Kit to make 100 landing pages off one WordPress site. There's just so many ideas.
Yeah.
It's fun to brainstorm.
So a huge amount of potential there.
Yeah.
We've had a question come in from Nathan. In fact, we've had a couple of questions coming from Nathan. Just interested in the resources. So the question, I'm interested in to know how about the resources that might be used. In other words, could I run this on a really, really small DigitalOcean droplet, or are there some minimum specs that are required?
Sure. Let me tell you where the pain points are, and that will help you understand the answer. Each product, as it's imported, gets 4 new images created. And it's not uncommon for a merchant to take pictures of their products with their home camera and upload 10,000 by 10,000 images. And so if you start pulling in products and start compressing 10,000 square images 4 times each, WordPress is going to complain, and you would want a tougher server for that. Now, that can be mitigated. Don't have giant images like that, you know? Another one is that if you have your site set to sync every 5 minutes and you have 500 products, you're not going to be done with the first one before the second one wants to start, and it's going to fall down. Unless you have a very fast server that can do that. Now, that's not going to work on a tiny droplet. However, if you only have a couple products, it would work great on a tiny droplet. So it's hard to say that it's good, you require these specs. It really depends on what you're doing and how you're doing it and things like that. So the key, I would say, is to remember that you're compressing 4 images for every product, and just keep that in mind with what you're sending at WordPress and what it can handle.
Sure. So I suppose theoretically, it's to some degree it's infinitely scalable in terms of the model that's being used with the.
Yeah, theoretically, it's infinitely scalable. Headless certainly is. WordPress does have its limitations. We have a few stores trying to run 5,000 products, and they consistently say, the sync is timing out. And it's not actually timing out. It just takes a day and a half to process all their images. You know what I mean? Now, I will say that on a sync, it doesn't pull in all the data every time. It only pulls in changes. So a lot of these stores that are complaining about it, this is their first sync. This is, they're pulling all their products in for the first time. Once they get that done, it probably would still be fine, but such a headache with many, many products. So yeah, I don't remember if that answers your question properly.
I think does. Yes, I think he's come back and actually said thanks. Makes sense.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah.
Topher, this is a really interesting area, and I think we've all experienced the fact that how particularly e-commerce and WooCommerce is an area that is different to some of the other things that other people run. And I think one of the biggest areas people find with it is the pain of running it and the concern, and the fact that you said that you've got the 24/7 support in there is going to be a big benefit for anybody who's going to try to deliver it, because there is literally no time that shops are not that it's always selling somewhere in the world.
Right. Yeah.
The last very quick question that we had also really is you talked about the product and how it's going forward and the roadmap.
Yeah.
Is there anything you can give us a quick sneak preview or anything that's coming up on the product in the future that you're looking forward to?
Oh boy.
We won't publish this.
This is what I can say.
Tell us your secrets.
Let me tell you this. Generally speaking, our plan is feature parity with BigCommerce. It's not there right now. There are some things you can do on the BigCommerce main platform you can't do on WordPress. And we've had a few people give up on WordPress because of that. But the goal is there. We're reaching hard for it. But another thing I want to say about roadmap is that it has been fairly heavily driven by developer requests. we have a web-based community support area, and we have this new Slack, and it's very common for somebody to approach me and say, "Listen, I need this thing, and I already took the contract, so I need it pretty quick." And I go to the team and we analyze it. We say, yes, this is a good request. This is a short one, so we can get it out in a couple iterations, or this is a bigger lift, and so it's going to be 3 months or whatever, But there are a lot of options and features in there now, specifically because they were asked for. So if there's something you want that you don't see, by all means ask. There's a really good chance that it'll get it moved in pretty quick.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's excellent
Thank
to
you.
hear. Topher, thank you so much. I really appreciate you giving your time to be with us this evening, your afternoon. I hope it's you hope you have a great rest of the day. We're gonna wrap up here now, and just want to say a huge thank you for being part of this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're very, very welcome.
Thanks, Toby.
Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, as I say, we're just going to quickly wrap up the rest of this evening now. I want to say a big thank you to both our speakers, both David and Topher, for giving their time for us this evening and being part of this. I also want to say a very big thank you to our sponsors, Automatic Cloudways, Dolly Funnel Pack, Weglot, Winning WP, WPMU Dev and Yoast. As I've said before, if you could hit that big.ht/thanks URL, I would really appreciate that to help show your appreciation for our sponsors to enable us to have these events as well as many other things. We are constantly looking for your feedback. These live events moving over to virtual are obviously are a learning curve for us. There are definitely things that we can improve upon and we will improve upon, but we'd love to hear what you think of them, and we'd love to hear what you think of the style. Do you like the social bit at the start, the social bit at the end? We'd love to hear what you think. Please hit wpldn.uk/feedback. We do not collect any personal data from that form. It would be good. We obviously, as a team, we're always looking for ways to improve. And I think there are certainly things we could do to improve what we're doing. But of course, we'd love to hear from you, the community, what you think. Okay, so we now have more than one event a month. We have launched WPLDN Daytime. So WPLDN Daytime is a slightly shortened version, slightly smaller version of WPLDN. We run it at lunchtime. If you are spending all day in front of your computer, in front of your screens, we appreciate that you may not necessarily want to come along in the evening and spend more time. So we've created this additional event. If you want to connect with the community, if you want to be part, pick up some of the hear from some of the speakers that we share. We do a shortened version that will last around an hour, so it's a nice time to take a bit of lunch break, and that happens on the second Thursday of every month. So our next one will be 1 p.m. on the 11th of June, and I have just opened up registration for that, so you should have an email winging its way to your inbox right now to say that that event is now open. Very excited to have Hannah Smith joining us as a speaker on the 11th. Really looking forward to hearing her talk, and a really important topic as well, looking at the impact on the environment in relation to web development. So again, a very interesting discussion I think we can have off the back of that one. The next full WPLDN, so the next evening event, will be taking place on the 25th of June. Again, same time, from 6:30 p.m. UK time. Again, if you want to be part of that, head over to our meetup page on meetup.com/London-WordPress. Other than that, I just want to say a big thank you to my co-hosts Diane, Leo and Paul. Thank you all so much for being here this evening.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Before we wrap up, was there anything else anybody wanted to say before we go?
not this one. I think it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks that we've got coming up with what, as we've already mentioned, with WordCamp in Europe, the virtual one. So I'm looking forward to that in the next few weeks, and see what other things are going to come around the corner. Lots and lots of different things.
Yes. Okay, we've got the social Zoom call details scrolling along the bottom there. We'll also share that in the chat. You can also hit enter the hallway track if you are in live.bigorangeheart.org to come and join us. Give us just a moment. We've got to shut this call down, and we're going to head over to Zoom and get that one up and running. Thank you
See
all very
soon.
much. See you on the other side.
Thanks, everyone. See you all in Zoom.